for this live coaching classes. I hope you have enjoyed learning the Indian Contract Act, and now is the turn to start out with Sale of Goods Act. So as always, before starting the session, it's very important to have a warm morning wishes from all of you. A very good morning, Ms. Gunjan, Pooja, Manvi, Keshav, Saurabh. Good morning, children. Yes, I'm equally excited to have you all back and to see you in the classes. Ms. Ziba, Ishan, Ruchita, Anand. Very good morning, children. Vishnu, Mohammed, Shivangi, Gunchita, Sirvansh, Kalyani, Durga, Durgesh, Itisha, Raj. So another 10-15 names are still over there. So just take my morning wishes for all of you. So children, before we begin the session, since we are meeting for the very first time today, I would like to congratulate all of you for selecting CA as part of your professional journey. And I'm really glad that you all have decided to be part of a very prestigious and reputed course. I hope you all have been enjoying learning till now, and you will be enjoying it the same way in the coming due course of time as well. But generally, when I see the students coming directly from the school and getting enrolled with the CA Foundation, the single word law is in the back of their mind that, oh my God, this is something really new. I don't know what is law. Because you have studied about accounts, little bit knowledge has been gained in class 11th and 12th. If you're from commerce background, business studies, economics, still we are very much aware. Nowadays, we have started incorporating legal studies as well as part of your 11th, 12th course. But if you're not from a commerce background, law is a subject which generally students find difficult. So first thing, before starting the session today, I want you all to remember that it is not at all a difficult subject. The only thing required in subject law is your CTM. Have you heard? To commit it to memory. It's all about a memory game. It's all about retaining the information at the back end and then recalling and revising whatever we have done in the class. So my humble request to each one of you, when we are here live in the class, all of you should be ready with a separate notebook for law. Pen, papers should be there in your hand. And now come the questions which most of you have been always asking earlier also. Ma'am, which book to refer? So children, you all know the study material that has been issued by Board of Studies. It is the Bible for all of you. And I really feel very happy to see that the Institute has been making so many efforts to update the study material as and when it is required. So if you have latest study materials, even if you have borrowed from your friends or if you're having a second-hand copy of your study material, the online availability is always at your doorstep. So you can log into your website of Institute and you can download your original copy of study material as well. So coming back to the point, whether we need to refer any other books, study material is the Bible for you. You may refer to other books if you have been doing in your BCom and other subjects that you have been covering. You can give a reference, but children, if you have done the study material and the presentation completely, no one can stop you from clearing your exam. All right. So I hope you all are very well prepared and we begin with the chapter. Yes, Prachi, Arisha, Naz, Avi, Ms. Tamanna, all those who have joined again. Ms. Tamanna, I'm good. I hope you all are also doing good. Chandrika, Veena, Deepak, and many other. Chaitanya, Surya. So you'll get enough chance that I take your names when I'll be sending you. You'll be sending me the queries and I'll be sending you back the answers, and vice versa. I'll be sending you the questions and you'll be answering me back. So children, this correction is very much important. So wo tabhi ho sakega if you are then and there with me. If you're running here and there and just thinking that we'll just keep listening because we are at home, if Institute is making an effort to come at your doorstep and teach you subjects like law, accounts and other things, then it is your moral duty to sit attentively for 2 hours and pay attention and try to have a connection with the teacher so that you can send your queries then and there only. All right. Mr. P. Vishnu is saying, we are excited to witness your teaching, ma'am. Even I'm equally excited to teach you all. Yes, you can download from the portal, Saurabh Verma. Everything is available over there. Yes, Mr. MD, that's absolutely correct. All right, now let's start with the session. So all of you are geared up for the new chapter, a new thing. But before starting, the 3 golden rules, which I generally shared with my students always, and now with a new bunch of kids again coming up for CA Foundation, I think it's very important that you should know these 3 principles. Because generally when we are discussing law, एक motivation वाली spirit जो है वो आई जाती है कि मैम थोड़ा सा ना हम demotivate हो जाते हैं, that we find the subject boring at times, it's tough and other things. So it's important that you remember these 3 golden rules. So it's often said, I really appreciate the quote given by Henry David, that success usually comes to those who are too busy looking for it. So since you have been looking forward for a success, so now is the time that you have to prepare yourself to achieve that success. So the basic key to success is hard work, children. You cannot say that I have purchased my books and the books are at home and now I have gotten myself enrolled in CA course and now I'm chilling, watching Netflix, going out with the friends and CA to pass hui jayegi. No, bacha. It's not at all like that. You have to fall in love with your subjects. Yes, that's my favorite line. When I say falling in love with your subjects, you actually have to be very consistent with your studies. You cannot say that I have attended the class once, and definitely I promise you and guarantee you that when you're attending the class with me, you will definitely find the subject very interesting and very easy also. But if you'll not revise, then that information that you heard for once will remain then and there only. Revision of the syllabus at least 4 times is must before you sit for your November 22 exam. All right, so it's very important to be consistent. How we are being consistent? When we listen to the teacher, number 1, we are learning at that time. Number 2, when teacher asks you to come revise, and the second session, you can ask your queries also. Number 3 is your full-fledged revision once the syllabus is done. And 4th is your final day revision, which you do before giving the exam. इतनी बारी पढ़ेंगे तो information जाकर fixed हो जाती है at the subconscious mind, so that anyone can ask me any question. Now I'm definitely clear on this topic. And to have this hard work and consistency, you all know discipline is very important. No procrastination of the things, making a fixed timetable. Now here comes the major problem, ma'am. We make a timetable, but follow nahi hota hai. It's very difficult to follow it. Even if we try to make it every day, we still fail to follow it. So let's learn to accept our mistakes. It is me who is not following it. So let's circle out the things which we were not able to follow and make a fresh timetable from the next day start. So consistently, जब हम try करते रहेंगे, definitely one day we'll be able to do it. And when you make a timetable, children, I'm not saying that just make a timetable for law. You have to give equal importance to all the different subjects that you have in CA Foundation. All right, so keep revising your content. Hard work has to be there. When I meet a CA student and he or she tells me, ma'am, we have become CA, so it's assumed that hard work is in your blood. So when I ask the students, what are your key strengths and weaknesses? So I tell them that don't tell me that my key strength is hard work. That too you anyways had inbuilt in your blood. That's why you did CA. So without hard work, CA is not at all possible. All right. So now let's move ahead and start with the chapter. It's not moving. Okay. All right. Now coming back to the first topic, Unit 1 of Chapter 2, Sale of Goods. So the first topic talks about formation of the contract of sale. So children, till now you have been understanding how a contract is formed, how we give an offer and acceptance, how we had consideration for the same, what were the contents of a valid contract. Based on the same principles of the Indian Contract Act, we are going to study about the contract of sale of goods. So before we proceed further, it's very important to understand that before 1930, all the provisions related to sale of goods and your Indian Partnership Act were clubbed in the Indian Contract Act itself. So what happened? Indian Contract Act became very huge. It had its own commercial transactions contract related provisions as well, related to the sale also, and related to the partners provisions. So since Indian contract became too huge with so many complications and disputes handling, so it was decided in the year 1930 that let's form a separate act for the sale of goods. So whatever the provisions were related to your sale and purchase between a buyer and seller, whatever disputes they happen, whatever grievances, you go to the market to purchase something, seller is not fulfilling a demand, or you being a buyer, you have cheated the seller. So a specific law was required to resolve all these kind of conditions and queries. So they said we have formed the Sale of Goods Act. I hope by now you all are very much aware what is law and how the act is formed. So whenever we have rules and regulations for a certain set of idea, that is known as, when the rules and regulations are made, it becomes law. That means you have to abide by those rules and regulations. So whatever the rules and regulations are related to a transaction, related to sale, they are given under the Sale of Goods Act. So the law, when accepted by the both houses of the parliament, then it becomes an act. All right. So it's very important that by now you should know how a law, you don't have to revise or learn how the law is formed. But since we are studying the law subject, we should know what is actually an act. So the provisions related to a particular kind of idea is put under a specific heading of that chapter of that act. So in Sale of Goods Act, we will be specifically dealing what happens when the buyer goes to the market to purchase something, how the seller is reverting back, and all these kind of things. So let's start with this. It says Sale of Goods is an act to define and amend the laws relating to the sale of goods. So here we will be completely dealing with the sale of goods. Those who ask me, ma'am, why it was earlier Indian Contract Act part and now it is not? The simple answer is government thought that all the transactions related to the sale of goods, we will combine them in a separate act. So that whenever you have to give the implications, you don't have to open the huge Indian Contract Act. You know that there is any dispute between a buyer and seller, you will simply refer to the book of Sale of Goods Act and you can apply the provisions. When you know that there are any quarrels between the partners in the Indian partnership, you'll simply go and open the Indian Partnership Act 1930. So from Indian contract, all the provisions of sale of goods were taken and separate act were formed, and all the provisions of partnership was taken and separate Indian Partnership Act 1932 was formed. So the sale of goods came into force on 1st July 1930. Now, the most important part of this chapter is that the provisions of this act are applicable only to the movable properties. Now, what is movable property and what is immovable property? The things which can be taken from one place to another are known as movable goods. All right. Say, for example, if I talk about my mobile phone, if I'm selling it, that means it is a movable property. If I'm trying to sell my pen, it's a movable property. If I'm trying to sell this book, that means it can be taken from one place to another. So it's a movable property. But a land, is it a movable property? A building, a forest, a jungle, which is having number of trees. So somebody just went and he said that I'm planning about the sale for a jungle or a sale of a forest. Will it come under the preview of sale of goods? The answer is no. Why? Because it's an immovable property. Where you're talking about a land, can you pick up the land and take it from somewhere else? No, it's not possible. It is the things which are attached to and forming part of land. So anything which is immovable is not applicable under Sale of Goods Act. It's very important to know this line. So this act is only applicable to movable properties. What are goods? How the act becomes applicable? That is a separate story which we'll be covering ahead. As of now, simply two things we have understood. Act is applicable to the sale of goods. All the provisions were taken from Indian Contract Act. Separate act was made. And this act applies only to the movable properties. For immovable properties, children, we have a different Transfer of Property Act that is applicable. All those who are asking, ma'am, for immovable properties kahan fall hoengi? We have Transfer of Property Act for which specifically talks about immovable property. But in your CA foundation, we only have sale of goods, which relates to your movable properties. Now, what all topics we need to cover in this chapter? Number one, the very important thing is the definitions. See, children, any act we start, we always have the basic definitions for that. So if you ask me, ma'am, do we really need to learn the definitions? Yes, of course, you have to learn the definition. Examiner can give you the questions based on any of the material given in your study material. So definitely you have to learn the definitions, but they are very, very simple. Only 2 and 3 technical points about document of title to goods, document showing title, we will discuss in detail. It will also become very easy. And another important definition is the definition of property. And of course, goods. Goods has a huge definition. We are doing the chapter sale of goods. So it's very important. We should know what are goods. Then comes your sale and agreement to sell, differences between these points and differences between sale and other contracts. So what can be other contracts? It can be a bailment, consignment, a pledge, any agreement to sell. So how actual sale is different from that? All those points will be discussed in the class. And another important topic is contract of sale. So in this chapter, we are also going to understand how the contract of sale is made. So you all know how offer, acceptance and other essential elements make a valid contract. Similarly, when the seller sells the goods to the buyer and the buyer pays money in return. Can we pay goods in return? Can we have a contract of sale where I sell you my mobile phone and you gave me another second-hand mobile phone in return? So can it be a part of sale of goods? Let me hear from you. All right, Avinash, I'm glad and I hope you clear your exam this time. All right, Ambika Joshi, thank you so much. Okay, so you have to answer me this question, children, that if I'm selling my mobile phone and in return you gave me your mobile phone, can we consider it a contract of sale? Yes or no? Thank you, Rahul. Miss Anushka Verma. Okay, Mr. MD. Yes, Miss Isha Pandit, whatever changes are there in study material, the one that you get latest for your November 22 exams, that will be updated. So Mohammed and Miss Netra Jaiswal are asking, ma'am, how to follow a timetable and how to stop procrastinating. So never mind, I'll try to take up these kind of things also in between. But if we start having a discussion on this only, then my chapter will be late. So I'll try in between to catch up on these kind of things as well. Yes, Miss Arshdeep, you can send your queries here only. It's okay, Mr. Mohammed. We'll be able to resolve that as well. You keep trying and you'll be able to do that. Khushdeep Kaur, a tree is a movable good or not? I'll come to that. But first tell me what I have asked. Okay, so those who says yes, Ronit and Sudhanshu and Miss Smita, your answer is wrong. And all others who said no, ma'am, this is only an exchange. It's a barter system. That's absolutely correct. So this helps to make me to understand where you are right now and where I have to take you. Miss Tamanna, it's absolutely correct. It's not a part of Sale of Goods Act. Why? Because where I am selling you something, if you can see this first picture, this cartoon is very clearly explaining you that sale of goods hota kya hai. So here this happy child is buying a box of chocolates and he has given money in return of that. So money is very important part in sale of goods. Only when you purchase something and you pay cash or a check or money for that, that is known as contract of sale of goods. Please write it down. Exchanging the goods with another goods is not covered under contract of sale. So now the reason I asked you to sit with your pens, papers and pencils If you don't have, please maintain a separate notebook for law. I don't want children that you just write it on a piece of paper and then it goes in the dustbin. When your maid comes, she's sweeping and the paper is gone. Please have a proper notebook for law so that tomorrow when you sit for studying, you can refer to those notes. Handwritten notes are always best to refer to. All right. So whenever I keep telling you these things, children, please write it down. So you should write down these things in your notebooks. So I'm not going to come and check your notebooks, but I'm assuming and trusting that my students are doing what I'm asking them to. So where were we? That, okay. Goods in exchange of goods is not a part of contract of sale. In order to form any contract of sale, money should be paid in exchange of the goods. Money should be paid in exchange of the goods, which means monetary consideration is must under a contract of sale. Which means monetary consideration is must under a contract of sale. So clear hai, barter system is not at all a part of sale of goods. Definitely. Very good, Priyanka, Harpreet, Shruti, Prachi, all those who have written this barter system, very good. Kalyani, Mr. MD, correct. Kunal, good. Thank you, Smita. I'm glad you all are enjoying. Nice. Okay, now let's move ahead. Ascertainment of price and all these kind of topics, we'll be dividing unit 1 in 2 sessions. So today we'll try to complete the definitions and few differences, and in the second session, we'll try to complete this first chapter. Now let's quickly begin with the definitions. Sabse pehli definitions, very simple things. Who is a seller and who is a buyer? So now again, it's kind of a test that I'm going to take because it is so simple. So Harleen ma'am sells this pen to Mr. Kunal. So who is a buyer? Who is a seller? I'm not going to check your answers, but you have to still reply. Correct. I will be the seller because I'm selling this pen. Kunal pays me money for this pen. He is the buyer. So ये तो बात बिल्कुल clear होगी. When I'm selling, I'm the seller. The person who is buying is the buyer. What is this word? He agrees to sell the goods and he agrees to buy the goods. Now, I have bolded it and I have highlighted it. There must be some reason behind that. Is it? So let's read the example. It says on 1st February 21, A agrees to sell 100 bales of cotton to B on 10th March 2021. So on 1st Feb, A is agreeing that, look, you come on 10th March, I will sell you 100 bales of cotton. So I haven't sold him right now, but I have agreed to sell. Do I still become a seller and B becomes a buyer? The answer is yes. Why? Because under contract of sale, we also talk about agreement to sell. So one can be a contract of sale where I'm randomly selling the product and the person is on the spot buying. Another kind of transaction where I become a seller and you become a buyer is, if I say today that come and meet me on 10th of September and I'll sell you my watch, that means I'm making an agreement to sell. Anything which I'm promising to sell at future date, very important, children. Anything which I'm promising to sell at a future date is always an agreement to sell. Likh lo isko. Any agreement made to sell the goods at a future date is always an agreement to sell. So the simple definition of seller and buyer, number 1, seller sells you the goods, you become the buyer immediately. I am the seller. Seller agrees to sell you the goods and you come on the due date and you buy the goods, you become the buyer. Ab kahani mein twist hai. So today, Harleen ma'am said that I am going to sell my watch to Mr. X on 10th of September. So I have made an agreement to sell. Clear hai? Who is the seller and who is the buyer today? Now, on 10th of September, what will happen? Mr. X will come and he will buy the watch. Till 10th of September, who is the seller and who is the buyer? So till that date, Harleen ma'am will remain the seller and this person, Mr. X, will become the buyer on 10th of September. Now, in the contract of sale, whole story revolves around who is the owner. अब एक और word आ गया, क्या आ गया? Who is the owner? Obviously, watch is mine. I am the seller. So, I am the owner. But children, when I made an agreement to sell with Mr. X, does he become the owner immediately? Yes or no? Yes, the answer is no. He becomes the owner only on 10th of September. Till that date, Harleen ma'am only will remain the owner. So this is the twist in agreement to sell. When we sell the goods, you immediately become the owner. You came to my shop, you said, ma'am, we want black color pens. I sold it to you, you become the owner. I am the seller, you are the buyer, but you immediately become the owner. So another point you can write down, under a contract of sale, when sellers sell the goods, the buyer immediately becomes the owner. Clear ho gaya? Now, whether you want to attempt your exam with this pen, you want to throw it in the dustbin, you want to gift it to your friend, do whatever you want to do because you are the owner of this pen. Fair enough. You came to my shop, I showed you this pen, you said, no, we don't want this pen, we want blue color pen. I said, I'm not having them in my shop right now. Please come after 5 days. Do you become the owner? I haven't sold you anything. But do I become a seller and you become buyer? Definitely, because I have made an agreement to sell. I have entered into an agreement with you that after 5 days, I'm going to sell you. So after 5 days, you come to my shop, I sell you the goods and then you become the owner. Under agreement to sell, write down, under agreement to sell, seller remains the owner. Seller remains the owner till the time the goods are sold. After sale, buyer becomes the owner. So ownership is always transferred at a future date. आगे ये भी लिख लो. Ownership is under agreement to sell. Ownership is always transferred at a future date. समझ आ गया? Broadly, we have understood the definition of seller and buyer also, and little bit differences between sale and agreement to sell as well. Let's move ahead to your favorite topic. What are goods? So we are saying that we are going to sell the goods. We are talking that one person is a seller, the other person is a buyer. But what are we going to sell? We are going to sell goods. So sale of goods, children, like GST talks about goods and service tax. So there we have services, but under sale of goods, we never talk about services. We only talk about goods. Okay. Number one thing is that the goods should always be movable. Sabne samajh liya tha, something which can be taken from one place to another. Tangible goods are also goods. Any things which are forming part of land which can be severed from the land. Severed means something which can be separated from the land. So if you can separate the things from the land, then also it is part of goods. So for example, you have grown few crops in your farm. Now that entire farm area, the land area, that is not goods. But obviously you can pluck the crops, or maybe some flowers you have grown in the field and you can pluck those flowers and you can sell them in the market. So those are goods. Similarly, coming back to the point of trees, somebody was asking, ma'am, will the tree be a good or no? So child, if you try to remove the entire tree, आपने अब science and EVS में पढ़ा होगा, that tree has its roots under the soil. So can you pluck up a tree and plant it at the same another place also in the same way? Obviously, it gets destructive once you pluck it down. But definitely when you cut the trees and you try to make the logs out of that wood, or you try to use the branches for different purposes, you try to use the leaves of a tree for different purposes, then definitely it will be covered under part of goods. But the entire land where the trees are grown, and you sell that I want to sell off this land along with the trees, then that transaction will not be covered under sale of goods. Simple. So something which can be removed from the land can be sold. Other things which are attached to the forming part of the land, which cannot be separated, they are attached, the roots are already dug in the land, then it becomes a part of immovable property. Sale of goods will not be applicable. समझ आ गया? हिंदी में जो चीज तोड़ दी हमने लैंड से, प्लग कर लिया, रिमूव कर दिया, उसको बेच सकते हो, बट लैंड एंड बिल्डिंग इज नॉट पार्ट ऑफ सेल ऑफ गुड्स. Similarly, a contract of coal mine. Now, what is mining? Digging, extracting something from the earth. Building stone quarry. Again, this is also a technical term which is used for construction sites where you are digging and mining the particular kind of stones. So all these kind of things where it is done, law says that is not a contract of sale of goods. So I have big coal fields, coal mine, and I made a contract for selling those. Tomorrow you cannot apply sale of goods to that. That is completely under Transfer of Property Act because it's an immovable property, right? पूरा का पूरा वो जो coal field है, आप पूरा का पूरा mining का area बेच रहे हो, that means you're selling the land. Similarly, building stone quarry is also kind of a construction site where the engineers try to extract the stones, carving the stones, and other kind of activities are done. Now, you don't need to remember and learn what is a mining activity, what is stone quarry. You simply need to remember that something where we are talking about the immovable thing, which cannot be removed, which cannot be moved from one place to another, that is not a contract of sale. Clear ho gaya? So, iska basic definition hai, immovable properties are not a part of sale, only movable things are part of sale of goods. It includes stock and shares also. Now, whatever trading you are doing in the share market, that is also part of a contract. Contract of sale of goods is also applicable to stocks and shares. So there are three things which are not goods. Number one, we learned immovable property. Whether it is a coal mine, whether it is a building stone quarry, or any other kind of things which cannot be removed from land, which is not a good. Second thing is actionable claims, and third is money. Before coming to actionable claims, let us understand why money is not a good. In the beginning of the session, I told you that you use money to purchase the goods. Can you use money to buy money? ऐसा होने लग गया फिर तो बहुत सारी illegal activities will come upon, right? So any transaction like this is absolutely illegal. You cannot sell money. You can only earn money. So you earn money with your hard work and then you pay that money to buy the things. You cannot say that I'm giving you 500 rupee note, please give me 1000 in exchange. Then that is money exchange. That is not sale of goods. Money is never a part of sale of goods. Why? Because simply remember, because money is used to buy the goods. Okay. So what examples are given in the study material about the old currency notes? We'll go in the study and we'll try to read that as well. But before that, let's understand what is actionable claims. So any claim which can be taken by taking an action on that. If you'll refer to your study material, it talks about a debt. So there can be debt means kisi se udhar lene. So if I have taken a loan from the bank, I have obtained money from the bank. So any action taken by the bank to recover that money is a kind of actionable claim. So all those kind of unsecured debts, all those kind of transactions will not be considered as a contract of sale. Now, what is secured debt? What is unsecured debt? That is again a different story. If you want to have a briefing right now, I can just explain you a little bit. But when we cover the topic of pledge and mortgage, we try to understand. So, abhi ke liye halka sa example de deti hu that if you're giving some security, say for example, I have given my watch and taken loan from the bank. So that means it's a secured debt. But where I borrowed money from my friend and I did not give him anything as a security, that will be unsecured debt. So obviously, if I don't pay his money, say for example, I have borrowed 5,000 rupees from one of my friend and I did not give him any security. So number one, it becomes unsecured debt. I promised to pay his 5,000 back on 5th of September, but I failed to pay. अब दूसरा बंदा कुछ तो एक्शन लेगा ना. फ्रेंड तो हो सकता है चलो माफ भी कर दे कि चलो इट्स ओके यार, लिए थे 5,000 भूल जाते हैं. बट थोड़ा खतरनाक वाला फ्रेंड था. He said, I will sue you. I'll take an action against you. I'll drag you to the court. You promised me, you made a contract with me, you borrowed the money and now you're not paying the money. So if I fail to pay, he's taking an action against me. So law says all these actions which are taken to make your claims are not part of goods. So here, whatever action he's taking against me for the unsecured debt, that is not covered under contract of sale of goods. समझ आ गया? एक बारी थोड़ा स्टडी मटेरियल में से भी इसको रीड कर लेते हैं, so that you get a better and a fair idea about what we are talking. Okay, I hope it's visible to all of you, the study material. So here it gives you the briefing, how the chapter is defined. See how beautifully study has given you how your entire chapter is defined. So where we are landing right now, we have studied a little bit about the agreement also, buyer and seller also. And now we are talking about this huge interesting topic that is goods. And we are also going to cover the types of goods today. So the scope of act we've already discussed. You can give it a fair reading. A seller means not only the person who sells, but also the person who agrees to sell. So ये same बातें, इसने वही बातें बोली है जो मैंने आपको एग्जांपल में बताई हैं. Buyer and seller are complementary का मतलब क्या है? Only if I sell, then only you will buy. So you come to my shop and you said that I want to buy a few chocolates and I picked it up from the shelf and gave it to you. That means I'm the seller, you are the buyer. But does it mean that you came to my shop to buy the chocolates and I'm giving you and your neighbor becomes the buyer? No, you only remain the buyer, right? So they're complementary to each other, means they have a transaction. Both the parties have a combined transaction with each other. Now, goods is very, very interesting. It says anything other than the actionable claims becomes your part of goods. Growing crops, grass, anything which can be severed, means which can be removed, is covered as part of goods. Now, they have specifically given you the definition, the claims which can be enforced only by an action or a suit. Abhi maine aapko samjhaya, a debt is not a movable property. How the action can be taken? Remember that story that I just shared with you, an unsecured debt where I borrowed the money from my friend. I failed to repay. That means it becomes an unsecured debt. Now that person is trying to take an action or a suit against me. You know what is suit, right? Kisi ke against khilaf case file karna, action lena. That is known as filing a suit. So that debt will not be considered as a movable property or goods. But are the FDRs goods? It says yes. The fixed deposit receipts are considered as goods. Refer to section 176 of the Indian Contract Act along with the sale of goods. So I'm not taking you back under section 176. उसको पढ़ लेना एक बारी. But यहाँ पे हमने simple याद रखना है कि if you have deposited the money with the bank and you have that FDR receipts in your hand, then that is considered as part of goods. When we go to the topic of document of title to goods, there I will teach you how the FDRs are something which shows you the title of goods. So it is also covered as a part of document showing the title. So दो चीजें याद रखनी है. Debt is not a part of goods. FDR is, yes, it is part of goods. Other than that, when we talk about tangible and intangible, now my students are all account student as well. आप सबको पता है intangible goods क्या होते हैं? Copyrights, goodwills, patents, trademarks. Are they goods? Yes, they are also goods under sale of goods act. Your stocks, shares, gas, steam, water, electricity, whatever electricity supply you're getting at home, if the gas cylinder guy comes to your home, all these are considered as part of goods under sale of goods act. Children, every act has a different meaning. Every act has a different set of definitions also. So here what we are talking about specifically definition of goods under sale of goods act. What does GST defines goods? That is again a different story. We are not talking about GST. We are here talking about Sale of Goods Act. Clear ho gaya? Now comes the things here. So this again definition is very easy for you to remember. The money in circulation and all these kind of things are not goods. Otherwise, other than that, all the other things will be considered as goods. So we have covered the definition of goods. So old currency notes also, those who were asking, if you're selling something which was lying with you, you have had a hobby of collecting the old currency notes, that sale that you're making, that will be a different kind of a contract for sale of goods. But money itself, if you're selling, will not. Money in circulation ka matlab hota hai, the money that you're using nowadays, that you cannot sell. I cannot sell you 500 rupees for 10 rupees, or I cannot sell you a 2000 note for 100 rupees. This cannot happen. Okay. So now the different types of goods, let us just understand what are the different category of goods. Now what happens is, children, at times we get confused between the different kind of goods that they have shown over here. So it's very important to understand the category of goods. So if you can notice, I'm using a different color pens for different kind of types of goods. Similarly, when you make your notes, children, again, you keep asking for tips how to be more impressive while studying. So again, here's a tip for all of you. When you make notes, try to use different color pens. Try to underline the things. See, children, falling in love with a subject does not happen overnight. Clearly, ma'am ne kaha that you have to love your subject and start saying, I love you to your books. It will not work. So you have to create interest in the subject. So interest कैसे create होते हैं, अपनी थोड़ी बहुत creativity करते हैं. So take a proper register, make notes in that, underline the headings where and where you find it comfortable. Like in school days, you had to have a proper discipline. What happens is, the moment you come to a college life or a CA life, you become a little lenient about your studies. So try to follow the same consistency as if the books are going to be checked by a teacher. Assume that. All right. So try to use different color pens, underline the things. Even a pencil can be helpful if you're underlining. Now you have time to make the notes. These are not the things which are to be done just before the exam. Now, when we are studying and revising, you can prepare proper notes so that on your D-Day, when you just have to prepare for exam, you simply flip through your pages and you feel so happy and good about that. सब कुछ करा हुआ है, अब तो मुझे सिर्फ read करके पढ़ना ही है, revise करना. All right. So try to be creative while you make your notes. So these are the three broad category of goods. So can you read? Existing goods, future goods, and contingent goods. Can we say specific goods, future goods, contingent goods? No. I said existing, future, and contingent are the three broad category of goods. Now, what is specific, ascertained, and unascertained? So existing goods are further divided into three broad categories, that is specific, ascertained, and unascertained goods. These are falling under the preview of existing goods. So specific and ascertained, something can happen that only when they are existing. Future goods are those which have not yet come into existence. मेरे पास है ही नहीं है अभी. तो जब मेरे पास है ही नहीं है, तो specific and ascertained की तो बात ही नहीं आई. So you have to be very careful when you understand. The three broad categories are existing, future, and contingent goods, and existing goods are further divided into three categories: specific, ascertained, and unascertained. Now we are going to understand what are actually the existing goods. So number one, we are going to do the existing goods. So all those goods which are in existence at the time of contract of sale, underline if you're having a study material in your hands. Existing goods may simply underline existing at the time of contract of sale. So you came to my shop and you said, say for example, I'm a shopkeeper selling your branded Nike sport shoes. And a boy came to my shop and he tried a size of shoes, but it was smaller. He has the size 7 and I was not having that size readily available. I only had 5 and 6. So he told me that, ma'am, I'm really fond of buying the same shoes. Can I come back next week or next month? When can I buy this? So I told him that we haven't yet received the lot from the previous dealer. So maybe next month you can come and buy the goods, because right now they are not existing. So can you say it is a sale of existing goods? The answer is no. I haven't sold you anything, no? I told you we don't have that thing. But yes, they can be categorized as future goods. I have denied you that I'm not having the goods. We cannot make a contract of sale right now. But yes, I have told you that after 1 month, you can come back to me and you can buy the goods. So I have kind of made an agreement with you. Can we say that? Yes, because these become the future goods. So after 1 month, you come and you buy those goods. At that time, I'm having those goods with me. I have promised you I will sell. Now the contract of sale has come to a picture and we actually sell the goods. So existing goods tabhi honge which are already in existence at the time of contract of sale. If I said that yes, I had size 7 available with me then and there only, I am the owner of the goods. They have been acquired by the seller. I already have them. They are in my possession, readily available. Then they become existing goods and I can sell them at that time of contract of sale itself. Clear ho gaya? Now, all those who are asking me before this that, ma'am, do we need to learn all these sections also? So children, regarding your CA foundation, you have to remember that sections are not very important. Section 6 mein diya hua na. Sections are not very important for you to learn. But if you write a section, obviously it sounds impressive. अब किसी ने existing goods की definition आई section 6 दिया तो examiner को तो अच्छा लगेगा ना, checker को, जो आपका somebody who is checking your paper, he will find very impressive that wow yaar, child remembers the section also. But somebody who goes there and writes section 5, which is a wrong section, then it gives a very negative impression. So two things: either don't learn the sections at all. If you are learning, write the correct section. If you don't remember, better don't write the sections. Okay, for CA foundation only I'm saying, as and far you go to CA inter, sections becomes mandatory. Yahan pe bhi koshish kar, if you have small sections, only few sections, try to learn them, but it's not mandatory for your CA foundation to learn the sections. Clear ho gaya? So existing goods are very much clear. 3 points you have to remember over here are: number 1, they should be existing at the time of contract. You should be the owner of the goods. What is the meaning of possession? You should be having those goods. Possession means you should have the custody of the goods. What is the meaning of custody? Means आपके पास होने चाहिए. ये नहीं कि आपने बोला कि थोड़े दिनों बाद आएंगे तो आप मुझसे ले लेना, फिर वो existing goods नहीं. So having in your possession means you should be having the goods readily available with you at that time. Then it becomes a complete contract of sale. Now let us understand what are the 3 categories of the existing goods. The first one is specific goods, which are the goods identified and agreed at the time of contract of sale is made. Now I told you that the existing goods are of 3 different types. So what is a specific good? If you would have seen my previous lecture, or maybe the chocolate that I show you in the presentation, I still have it in the presentation. So there was a picture in which I tried to make you understand that there's a particular specific brand kind of chocolate where a child comes into the shop and he says that I want Cadbury Dairy Milk, which has, Oreo flavor and that almond peanut butter flavor. So just imagine what a specification of a single chocolate. So here law says there you are being very specific. And I, being the shopkeeper, I showed you many other things. See, we have different type of fused chocolate has also come up. We have Amul dark chocolates, other things which have come up. Why don't you try that? But no, that person is very specific that I want that specific Dairy Milk Oreo choice peanut butter flavor. So here where you are giving all the terms and conditions and description of the product, law says it means the goods which are specifically identified. Means they cannot be replaced. Replacement is not possible only. Okay, let me use the better font. Okay, so it says which cannot be replaced. So where you cannot replace the goods are clearly identified. You have agreed that I want to buy this specific chocolate only, and the seller sells you. It is the contract for the specific goods. See, for example, what examples the study material has given? It says any specified and finally decided goods like Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge. Now you went to the mobile shop and you said, I want Samsung Galaxy S7 only and edge written behind that. So S7 edge वाला ही मुझे फोन चाहिए, यही चीज चाहिए, तो जो आपने फाइनली डिसाइड करी. You said I want a Whirlpool washing machine. I showed you 10 types of Whirlpool washing machine weighing 6 kgs, 7 kgs, 10 kgs. But you said I only want a 7 kgs one. So here it becomes a specific category of good. Means मैंने ये सोच लिया, I've decided that I only want this particular good, then that means you are talking about the specific goods. So simply remember where all the descriptions and specifications are given by the buyer, that is known as the category of specific goods. Another example is A had 5 cars of different models. He agreed to sell his Santro car to B and B agreed to purchase the same. Will you say that it is a sale for specific car? Why? Because it is identified and agreed at the time of contract of sale is made. So very important line is, जब हम contract of sale कर रहे हैं, that during the time when we are making the contract, we have decided, identified and agreed to this. So 5 cars I have, you picked up a Santro car, I said, okay, fine, I'll sell you. You decided to purchase the same car. This is exactly the sale for specific goods. If I had 5 cars and you said that I want a very different kind of model, which I'm not having right now, but I said, okay, fine, that is in my warehouse. I will call you after 2 days. You can come and pick it up. Will it still be a sale of specific goods? The answer is no. We have identified the product, but something still needs to be done to segregate it from the lot and bring it here, the weighing, packing, measuring. If such kind of things are pending, then it will not be a specific goods. Then what kind of category will be? Then it will be considered as a certain or unasserting goods. Okay. So let's take a small break over here. We have understood specific goods. After the break, we'll just understand what are the certain and unasserting goods, and then we'll go back to our presentation. So let's take a small 5 minutes break over here. All right. Yes, welcome back, students. So this 5 minutes just give me time to just go through your queries and what you have written. Miss Subhasriyam is asking that if we have started to cover, if we have started studying now, can we cover the complete questions? Definitely, even if you have started studying law now, children, then also you have enough time till November to prepare for your exams. Definitely, you can do that. Thank you, Ms. Gungun. Those who have written the correct answers, that Kunal was buyer in that respective case and I was seller, that's absolutely correct. Nishant, you're asking me to speak entire lecture in Hindi, but that's not possible because we have category of different students. If you understand completely English, if you want to speak me to in Hindi, so we have to use a combination of both the languages, okay? Okay, so I hope till here everything is mostly clear, not much of queries. Important sections, Tamanna, again, I told you, better to write, not to write the sections if you cannot recall. There is nothing such important that you can simply write or not. Okay? Yes, Mr. MD, definitely all the presentations and notes will be uploaded on the portal. You can download it from there. Okay, now I'll take up your queries later on because otherwise the syllabus will be left behind. Thank you, Ashish. Okay, Raj, that's correct. How to memorize all the concepts. Gradually, I'll keep telling you Bansuri and Vishnu and Rafika, sorry, Miss Rafika. We'll keep talking about these things, how to memorize. When we keep revising, when we keep talking about different contents, anyways help you to revise it out. Okay, so let us just go back to the study material once again, because we still have to complete the topic from there. So specific goods is clear. Those who are still saying that, ma'am, little bit doubt in specific goods, I think now it will become more clear when we talk about ascertained and unascertained goods. So now the broad category of ascertained goods. It says the goods, number one, we have understood the specific goods which are identified and agreed at the time when contract of sale is made. You came to my shop, you said we want that specific chocolate, I sold you, contract is complete. Now, what happened with the ascertained goods? Law says generally ascertained are the same as specific goods. Now, children, when I am talking, I'm not seeing into the query. So even if you're writing, I won't be paying attention over there. So you also leave the query session and come back to this thing. Okay, Arshdeep, Shivam and all of this. Thank you, Shivam. Yes, Priya, that will definitely happen. But now I'm teaching, so I'm not reading there. So pay attention. I'll give you time when we have to go into the queries. So ascertained goods is generally in practical circumstances have the same meaning as of the specific goods. But just let us know the definition. It says it is not exactly defined in the act, but where a lot or out of larger quantity, the number or quantity is identified, the goods become ascertained goods. Abhi isne kya keh diya? So much information. I can understand being a new student, reading the law for the very first time. It definitely becomes a little difficult for you to understand. But again, a tip for all those children, law has to be understood as, short stories you create. So just imagine when you're reading that you are a shopkeeper, you are selling the things. Let's go in this example. It says a wholesaler of cotton has 100 bales in his godown. Now he has 100 bales of cotton and he agrees to sell 50 bales. So what happened? 100 bales of cotton were there and he's making an agreement to sell 50 bales of cotton. So what do I need to do? I need to take out the 50 bales. I need to do the weighing, measuring, and I kept them aside. Now it says on this selection, the goods become ascertained goods. So children, out of 100 bales, I picked up 50 bales, I packed them and the buyer will come and take it. Are you clear that 50 bales now become ascertained goods? So can anyone tell me what were these 100 bales of cotton? Weren't they unascertained goods? Something which has not yet been identified, something which is lying in a larger bunch. So definition से दोबारा पढ़ते हैं. When from a lot. Lot means out of this 100 bales of cotton, the number or quantity is identified. So out of the entire lot or out of the large quantity, when we pick up the quantity for which we have made the contract, the goods become a certain goods. Until the time we don't select and the entire huge lot, the large quantity is lying, that means those are unasserted goods. Clear? So it says on selection, the goods become ascertained. Here the contract is for the sale of ascertained because the goods are identified and agreed after the contract of sale is made. So what is the difference between specific and ascertained goods? Write down. Specific goods are identified at the time of contract of sale. Ascertained goods are identified and agreed after forming the contract of sale. So here, before ascertainment of goods, the sale was for unascertained goods. The 100 bales of cotton, till the time we have not done the identification, the sale was only for the unascertained goods. Let us read also what is the meaning of unascertained goods. It says the goods which are not specifically or identified at the time of making the contract. They are only indicated by description or sample. So you went to the shopkeeper and you showed him that this is a black color cover kind of mobile phone, and I want a mobile which specifically have this much length in inches and all, and this much kind of cover it has. So you're just giving a description. You're just showing a sample. I want a good related to this only. So the shopkeeper is not having it right now. So it says it is unascertained goods. He still has to do something to make the goods identifiable. So where something is still pending and you have just simply identified the goods by description or sample, and now when you have gone, the shopkeeper will make the good of the specific specifications. Then after the formation of contract of sale, the goods become asserted. Let us take another interesting example. A agrees to sell 1 packet of salt out of 100 packets lying in the shop. So you came to my shop. So now just imagine short stories and try to visualize it in your mind. Then picture becomes very clear. So I have 100 lot of sugars lying on the shelf. And he said, I want 1 packet of salt. Out of those 100, any 1 packet can be sold. Can you say that you have identified? Law says where entire large quantity, whole lot of the goods are lying. That means it is unascertained goods. Why? Because we don't know which packet is to be delivered. हमें तो पता ही नहीं है which packet we have to give it to you. As soon as I pick up a particular packet and I give it to you, it becomes a certain or specific good. Simple. So when the goods salt were lying together, they were unascertained goods. You picked up 1 packet, you gave it to the buyer, it becomes a certain or specific. Similarly, X has 10 horses. He promises to sell the horse, but does not specify which horse he will sell. So say, for example, I'm having 10 horses. 9 of them were black in color. 1 was only the white in color. Came to my shop and he said, I only want that specific white color horse. Was it a specific good or ascertained or unascertained? I want to know the answer from you. You said that, ma'am, we only want that specific white color horse, and I had a lot of 10 horses. 9 of them were black in color. 1 was white in color. So when you asked me to sell, Miss Harnoor Kaur is the first one to answer correct. So when you said specific good, that is absolutely correct, because you have specifically said that I want that white color horse. Okay, all those who have written specific, it's correct. Now I'm changing the question. Yes, Shivam Kumar, unless and until you will not tell which good I want to buy, it is unascertain goods. Ashish says some more doubt and ascertain. I have not understood the differences. So ascertain and specific are very much same. We are just doing the same. I will make it clear in one more example. From bales of cottons, we have to identify the cotton is same. Yes, Varun Mangla. So once you have identified, it becomes a ascertain goods. Correct. 9 horses, uncertain, unascertain. Yes, Ekta, that's correct. Okay, now I'm changing the question. Children, listen again. Now I say I have 10 horses and I promised to sell you that one. You said I want to buy 1 horse. I said, okay, fine, I will sell you 1 horse. Now those 10 horses are ascertain or unascertain goods. No, Rohan, credit sale is not part of this. We can still understand how the cash sales and credit sale happens. But right now we are in goods. Let's imbibe ourselves in the goods only. So I'm waiting for this answer. What will those 10 horses be called? Ascertain or unascertain? Yes, Yash 1L. I'm getting your answers. Correct, Mohammed Sohani, Manvi, Harshita, Vishnu, Harnoor, Priya, Nivedita. All those 10 horses will be unascertain goods. Now you have promised to buy 1 horse. I picked up in the evening 1 horse. Obviously, a horse की कोई packing तो करोगे नहीं आप, but you have made him ready to sell. So that one particular horse has now been identified. It has been agreed. And I gave a call to the buyer that your horse is ready. Please come and purchase it. Now, what does this 1 horse become? You have to tell. You have all answered that, ma'am, those 10 horses were unascertain. Excellent. Vaishnavi, Pratinda, Shruti, Gungun, Tejashri, Abhijit, Akula, Nivedita, Bansuri, all of you are correct. Mr. MD, everyone. Yes, Navneet, Varun, Asta, Priya, all of you are correct. Now this one specifically identified horse become the ascertain goods. Wow, yaar, bade intelligent bachche ho tum to. You have answered it. I am not answering. You are answering me back. That means you have understood. So this is how those who were asking now how to play the memory game, how to recall it. When you are learning with me on the spot, paying attention, you are reverting children, you understand and you never forget that concept. So now let's quickly revise. When you come to my shop, you tell me the specific good I want. It is specific goods. Always remember we are talking about existing goods. Goods existence में है तभी वो 3 categories में आगे divided. You came to my shop, you said, I only want this kind of a color pencil and I will purchase that. I have that, I gave it to you. That's absolutely correct. Okay, all those who have sent the answers, it's correct. And after that, you came to my shop and there were 10 lots of pencils lying and you said, I just want to buy 1. All those 10 lots were unascertain goods because we have not identified. I picked up 1 pencil, I weighed it, measured it, did the packing, everything has been done, segregation has been done from the entire lot, it becomes ascertain. Now going back to the question, those who were asking, okay, Murtaza, right. So now coming back to that question, specific and ascertain goods ka difference. So specific goods, you came to my shop and you said that, ma'am, we only want to buy that Dairy Milk Oreo product, which is lying on your shelf. And I picked it up and I gave it to you. But now if I'm having too many type of same kind of chocolates and I picked 1 and identified after making the contract of sale, then it becomes a certain good. So specific and ascertain goods are one and the same thing. The only difference is you picked up, you got it here on the store, purchased. These are specific goods. When you have to segregate it from the entire whole large quantity, then we give it a name of unascertain में से ascertain करना. Clear है? Now let's move to the second category of goods. It says future goods. Now children, future goods are very, very simple, which is not yet in existence. I still have to get it from my manufacturer or producer, or I have to acquire it after making the contract of sale. Now, one line in the beginning, we have already written, the sale of future goods is always an agreement to sell. I cannot sell the goods to you today because I don't have them right now. So that shoe example that we did in the beginning, the size 7 shoe, I told you it's not available. Come after 1 month, you can buy that. That is known as sale of future goods. And here we don't make any contract of sale. It is only an agreement to sell. Why? Because I cannot transfer what is not in existence. I have only made an agreement that come after 1 month. When the goods are available, you can just go and buy them and then go. Clear? So 2-3 examples that the study has given, it's absolutely clear. We can still read it out. It says 1,000 quintals of potatoes to be grown on A's field is not illegal, though the actual sale of future good is not possible. Okay, I am promising you that A said that whatever apples, 1,000 quintals of potatoes which will grow on my field, I will sell you. Can you say that you have made a contract of sale? The answer is no, it's illegal. Abhi to grow hone hai. Something is yet to happen. How can you sell it today? So it says here, I am only making an agreement to sell. Similarly, where P said that I will sell all the milk that my cow will yield in the coming years. Again, cow will yield milk. I will pack that milk. Whatever is the contract, then you sell it. That means it is the sale of future goods. You cannot identify the goods right now because the cow is yet to yield the milk, you're yet to pack it, and then you give it. So it is only a contract of sale for future goods. Again, selling all the oranges which will be produced in his garden this year. So how will be the weather, whether it will rain or not? Was there too much rain? The crop got destroyed, oranges got ripe. What happened? It is again sale of future goods. Therefore, it is amounting to agreement to sell. Children, now you get a completely descriptive paper of law. Earlier in between, we started giving you MCQs and objective paper also. So there, these kind of case studies became very interesting, where we simply used to throw a question asking whether it is a contract of sale or agreement to sell. So at that time, you simply have to apply the principle that if it is existing good, it is contract of sale. If it is future good or contingent goods, abhi kara nahi hai, humne contingent karenge. So in case of future goods and contingent goods, it is always an agreement to sell. Why? Because the goods are not in existence and you have promised to sell them at a future date. Now let's go back to the contingent goods. I hope future goods is absolutely clear by now, and let's pay attention to the contingent goods and then I'll see your quiz. Contingent goods, children, means some uncertainty or contingency is attached to it, where the seller is selling something to the buyer and it depends upon the happening and non-happening of the event. So you came to my shop and you said that we want to buy 100 bags of wheat from you. And I said the 100 bags of wheat, my 1,000 bags of wheat are already sailing in the ship. That ship will reach at the Bombay port and then I will get my goods in my godown and then only I can sell. So what kind of contract of goods I'm making? It is exactly the case of contract for the sale of contingent goods. Now, many a times the child asks, ma'am, contingent goods are future goods. Of course, contingent goods are future goods. But there is again a thin line of difference between future goods and contingent goods. I told you I'll sell you shoe number 7 when my manufacturer will give it to me. I'm already in dealing with him. I know he's a good producer and manufacturer. He always supplies the things on time. Something which is under my control. Something which does not have a lot of uncertainty involved, then that is a future good. But here where the goods are sailing in a ship, can you give 100% guarantee that the ship will not get sink? Can you give 100% guarantee that there will be no natural disasters of hurricanes or earthquakes or volcanoes and ship will definitely reach safely? There is always an uncertain factor involved in such kind of cases, where goods are sailing in the ship, where I'm dependent of getting the goods from someone else. That's up. जैसे अभी अब cow वाला बात कर रहे थे. Cow may yield the milk. Maybe cow will die next year only. So how can you fulfill that promise again? There is a contingency. So future goods and contingent goods are almost the similar kind of things. Just we have to see that to a larger extent, uncertainty has to be seen in case of contingent goods. All right. So where the goods depend upon uncertain conditions are known as contingent goods. Contingent goods always operate as agreement to sell and never sale. Again, because they are future goods, the property does not pass to the buyer at the time of making of the contract. So what does it say? Another important word they have used is property does not pass to the buyer. Now, ma'am, what is this word property? So write down in your study material, property means ownership. Property means ownership. Children, when I told you that 1,000 bags of wheat are sailing in a ship and they will reach the Bombay port, and then when I go at the goods and I go down, I will sell you 100 bags of wheat. Do you become the owner immediately as a buyer? Who remains the owner? Seller or buyer? Chalo, jaldi batao mujhe. Who remains the owner? Seller remains the owner or buyer remains the owner? Thank you, Miss Nivedita. Nivedam. Okay. Mr. Varun Mangla, thank you. Stones extracted. Yes, Keshav Kothari, all those stone extraction and coal mining will be immovable property. It will not be considered as part of goods. Jayesh, you can send the question again. Contingent goods depend upon uncertain events. That's correct. How does buyer becomes the owner, Miss Lakshita? Wrong. And those who have written seller remains the owner, that is absolutely correct. Arya, Raj, Navneet, Ekta, Abhijit, Gungun, Kashika. Yes, of course, credit sale also, Mr. Yashwant, where you have to make the payment. So it is just a method of making the payment. So either you pay me cash right now, that is also part of contract of sale. And credit sale, you're making me the payment at a later date. Udhar pe aapne saman kharide, that is also covered under the preview of sale of goods act. Okay. So all those who have written seller is the owner, that's absolutely correct. Yes, Mr. Ishan, the old currency notes, if you're talking about, that will be considered as a part of goods, but money cannot be sold. Okay. Shares and other things, stock things, they are considered as part of goods. Okay. So Kriti or Kirti also says, ma'am, seller only remains the owner. Pradenta also written the same. Mr. Chatur Vedula, your answer is not visible, but your name is coming many times. Thank you, Mr. MD. Okay. The contingent goods. Okay, P. Vishnu, we'll talk about the same once again. So all those who have written the seller only remains the owner, that's correct, children. Why? Because I have said that the goods are still sailing in the ship. When they reach, I will sell you. And on the due date, when you come to my shop, I sell you those 100 bags. Then it becomes the complete contract of sale. Now the ownership gets transferred to the buyer. So this is what is meaning of this line, that in case of contingent goods, the goods are not in my hand. The seller only remains the owner. Therefore, the property means the ownership will not pass to the buyer. It will only pass to the buyer at the time of making the contract of sale. Similarly, A agrees to sell B a Picasso painting which he is able to purchase. Provided he is able to purchase means condition attached. So future goods and contingent goods mein jahan pe some condition has been attached that I am dependent. Now, if whether I'll be able to purchase it from another person, yes or no, that is very difficult. Na? So therefore, it is a contingent goods. If I am able to purchase, I'll sell you. If I'm not able to purchase, I'll not sell you. Simple. But ascertain and unasserting, we have already made the contract. Now only the identification of goods was to be done. Here the contract of good is only dependent whether the owner will get the actual product from the previous owner or not. All right, now let's go pre-contracts to sell 50 pieces of a particular article, again, provided the ship is reaches the port safely. So generally the examples of ship are associated with your contingent goods. So children, this is what we have discussed in detail. You can also see some pictures. So here I was talking about the specific goods, the goods which are identified and agreed at the time you entered my shop. This is that Oreo peanut butter flavor I was talking about, where you have given the exact specifications and identification, and you only want, you're adamant of only buying that product. That means this is known as specific good. But where the goods, can you see in these old tubs and baskets, the goods are lying together? Don't you think that if I'm selling something, I have to identify and pack them and segregate them? So this entire lot of goods is unascertain. And when we pick up the products and we pack them, weigh them, polish them, do some measuring, whatever activities needs to be done, then it becomes ascertain. You can read out these examples, very basic examples again given in the presentation, which makes your content clear. These are same, the quintals of tomatoes and potatoes and milk yielding the cows. Just the pictures have been made to make it more interesting for all of you. And this is that contingent good. Remember this ship, when the goods are sailing in the ship, you always have a doubt whether they reach the port safely or not. Let's come back to the topic of delivery of goods. Okay. So now let's understand there are three types of delivery of goods. So we are doing definitions. The next definition in your study material is about the delivery of goods. Number one is your actual delivery of goods. So you order something. Nowadays you order online also. Can you see this courier guy is coming to his house in society and he's delivering the things? How happy you get when your order comes. Many of you, do you order online, children? So nowadays it has become a hobby of students. Huh? You just find something interesting on Amazon. You just click a button, ask your parents for their credit card number and you buy. Or maybe your own, if you're earning, somebody's asking about the bitcoins and all. If you're investing, earning money, so you're purchasing yourself as well. So what happens when that guy, courier guy comes to your doorsteps, you have already made the payment and he gives you the products. This is known as actual delivery of goods. Or you have purchased a car from the showroom and the showroom guy came to deliver the car and he handed over the car to you and gave you the keys. Again, it is an actual delivery of goods, where the goods are being physically given to you. Again, delivery of goods, you'll read the voluntary transfer of goods from one person to another. Did you read in your Indian Contract Act about free consent? Just give me 1 second. I want to bring my water bottle. Yes, children, have you read about free consent? Where we say any contract formed by coercion, undue influence is voidable. So under those cases where at gunshot, somebody is selling the things, somebody is forced to give the things, can you consider it a voluntary transfer? The answer is no. So here delivery should be with a free consent. Whatever things you are giving to another person as a seller to the buyer, you should be giving it voluntarily, means out of your own happy choice, not under coercion or undue influence. You're forced to sell things. So that is the meaning of delivery, means voluntary transfer of the things from one person to another. Clear ho gaya? So actual delivery you have understood. When you're physically giving the things from one person to another, that means you have made the actual delivery. Then there is symbolic delivery. Symbolic is very interesting. First we'll understand symbolic and then we'll go to the constructive, because constructive means some construction needs to be done to deliver the goods. Actual samajh aa gaya sabko. Now let's do symbolic. Symbolic is very much resembling these car keys. So instead of giving you the car, I said these are the keys of the car and car is yours. So I've not physically given the goods to you, but I've symbolized. I've done some action or act which makes it clear that goods now belong to you. So symbolic delivery can be understood as giving the car of the keys or car keys of the warehouse where the goods are kept. These are all symbolizing that delivery of goods have been made. Now this third category is very interesting. So you went to a showroom and you said, I want to buy that small automatic car Quid that has come up and it's so nice and comfortable that you don't have to use the gear system and you have nice automatic drive in that car. But I said, sir, the model that you're asking for, I'm not having in my showroom. But there is one thing that same model that you have asked for is lying in my warehouse. So why don't you do one thing? I will give the keys of the car to the warehouse keeper and you go and buy it from there. You make the payment and you take the delivery of goods from him. So have I done actual delivery? Yes or no? Pehle to mujhe ye batao. Where I've given the car keys to the warehouse keeper, have I done the actual delivery? Yes or no? Thank you, Ms. Rafika. Yes, Nivedam, that's right. Yes, Priyanka, your question is coming, but I just want the answer for this one first. Miss Arya Kumari's services are never considered as a part of sales. Correct, Varun. Books are also part of movable goods, and when they're delivered, it is actual delivery. I'm proud to listen about the free consent, also the answers that you all have sent. Mr. Saurabh, we'll consider all the queries which are related to your chapters, okay? Why before independence and why not before independence? Let's leave it apart right now because long discussion will happen then. Mr. Om Prince, definitely contract of sale is different from agreement to sell. Bacha, we'll understand the points of differences also. Excellent. Those who have answered, no, ma'am, this is not actual delivery. That's correct. Then now also tell me which type of delivery happened. Is it symbolic? Can we? Yes. Mr. Rohan Kumar said no because physical transfer of goods to hua hi nahi. That's correct. So what happened then? Mr. P. Vishnu, thank you so much. All right. So can you tell me, Mr. Saurabh, I would want you to answer this question first that I've asked. What kind of delivery is this then? When warehouse keeper is holding the keys on my behalf, where I have to go and buy the goods. Law says this kind of delivery is a constructive delivery, where I have constructed the delivery of goods in such a way that now the buyer can simply go to the warehouse keeper and he will say, can you please give me the car keys? And I've come to pick up the car which is lying in that particular warehouse. So number one, physical delivery of goods. Aapne gaadi uthakar buyer ko de di. That is correct. Symbolic, no, it was not symbolic. It was constructive delivery, children. So when you pick up when you give the car keys to the buyer, then it becomes symbolic delivery. When the warehouse keeper is holding the car on your behalf, it becomes constructive delivery. You must have read there is a word written by attorney or acknowledgement. So in constructive delivery, somebody is acknowledging. Somebody is saying, yes, fine, don't worry, I am holding the car on your behalf. So in such a way, the construction has been done of the contract that person is holding the car on your behalf. All my dear children who have written symbolic delivery, it's not correct. Mr. Saurabh, yes, it's correct. It's a constructive delivery. Abhinav Kumar, definitely we can call it delivery by acknowledgement also. Miss Ambika, you can send your queries and I'm ready to answer it over here. No problem. Shruti Tiwari, correct. ओके तमन्ना सेज कंस्ट्रक्टिव डिलीवरी में थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो बेटा वो डिलीवरी में थोड़ा टाइम लग रहा है ना गुड्स में इसलिए आ रही है. सो नाउ लिसन अगेन केयरफुली. एक्चुअल डिलीवरी वी हैव हैंडेड ओवर द गुड्स. directly to the buyer. Symbolic delivery, we have given the car keys to the person. We have symbolized, done the delivery in such a way that the other person feels that the delivery of goods has happened. Constructive delivery may, we have delivered the goods, we have given the car keys to the warehouse keeper. So here you have to make an effort. You have to go to that warehouse keeper. You have to ask him that these are the documents I'm holding. Please give me the delivery of car. That warehouse guy is holding the keys on your behalf. Clear him? Let's move ahead. Now come your little tricky topic for the day. And I really wanted to finish this topic today itself. So we'll now take up the queries later on. For future goods, yes, Pranab, even if payment has been made, whether it's a cash sale, credit sale, the goods which are to be given in future, the ownership would also be transferred in future. Seller will only remain the owner. Okay. So warehouse, Mrs. Dasari, warehouse is the place where all the goods, you can imagine that as if a godown or a store where all the goods were kept. So you have simply given the keys to the warehouse keeper where you can go and collect it. Okay, thank you, Tamanna. I'm glad it's clear now. Mr. Varun, we are not allowed to use so many different languages while teaching. So Hindi and English can be used so that we understand comfortably by the majority of the students. All right. Miss Suhani, I hope symbolic delivery is now clear to you, where you're just giving the keys to the buyer and he will simply collect the car. Yes, Miss Shruti Tiwari, your answers are visible. No, Miss Ekta, the warehouse keeper is not selling on behalf of him. He is holding the car on behalf of the buyer. You have to be clear what we are talking about. You cannot say that we are selling the goods for constructive delivery, okay? Payment is done in installments, that is hire purchase, Miss Sohani, we will cover that as well. Good, Kalyani, crystal clear, then it's nice. Now let's move to the topic of document of title to goods. Now children, this topic, though it seems, when I used to be a student of your age, the moment I reached at this topic while studying document of title to goods, I literally used to close my books. You know why? At that time when I was a student, I used to feel so scared of these words, bill of lading, dock warrant, warehouse keeper certificate, war finger certificate, railway receipt to chalo still understandable. But all these warrants and orders, it used to really bother me a lot and I used to find it difficult. But I have noticed one thing, when you understand the meaning of this terminology, the things become very, very simple. So let us make the things simpler for you all as well right now. It says, what is the meaning of a certain goods, specific goods delivery? Leave out the queries. I'll definitely give you 5 to 10 minutes specifically for query handling. But children, please, my humble request, listen to this topic first, okay? Because it's a very important topic and it's very tricky. And then again and again, you keep asking questions. So better you pay attention right now, okay? So document of title to goods means document which shows the ownership of the goods. So पहले तो आप title के आगे लिख लेंगे. Title means ownership. All right. Document of title to goods means document which tells that you are the owner of these goods. Let's take an example. I am Mr. A. I want to sell my goods to Mr. B. I'm from Chandigarh and I want to sell my goods to Mr. B who is sitting in Delhi. So now I thought that either I can send the goods via truck or maybe through a railway carriage. So if I would have loaded my goods in a truck to deliver in Delhi, I would have used a lorry receipt. If I'm transporting it by plane, I might have used the airway bills. But I decided to transport my goods through train. So when you transport the goods through train, we use the receipt which is known as railway receipt. आपके यहाँ लिखा हुआ ना railway receipt. Bill of lading, dock warrant, warehouse, and wharfinger certificate are similarly all the documents which are simply used for transporting the goods from one place to another via sea. जब आप समुद्र से, सी से ट्रांसपोर्ट करते हो, शिप में गुड्स लोड करते हो दूसरे पोर्ट पे पहुंचाने के लिए, then all these documents are used. So they are not at all tough. This simply means the documents which are used for transporting of goods by sea. So I'm using a railway receipt example over here. So I said, Mr. A, I'm selling off the goods to you, to Mr. B, who is sitting in another city. So now how will Mr. B go and collect my goods? How will the railway authorities come to know that this is the person to whom we have given the goods which Harleen ma'am has sent? So I will send him and sign and send him the original copy of a railway receipt. Now that railway receipt is having the entire details about the name of the buyer, the name of the seller, quantity sold, what kind of contents, what kind of goods were there. Entire details will be mentioned in that railway receipt. And now since B has that original copy of railway receipt, what he will do, he will just go to the railway authorities, he will produce that railway receipt and the authorities will give him the entire goods. This is the meaning of document of title to the goods. So all these are the document which tells that you are the owner of the goods. Now here, Mr. B was considered as the owner of the goods. When did he make the payment? How the payment happened? Whether he paid on cash, credit installments, different story. Assume payment has been done. We are talking about the delivery of goods. We are understanding what is the meaning of this document of title to goods. Okay, when I teach you the third chapter about the transfer of possession, children, there you will understand whether the cash has been paid, what happened if the cash is not paid, whether we can sue him for the breach. Alag story. अभी के लिए सिर्फ जहां बात कर रहे हैं उतना ही समझ लें. All right. So railway receipt means a document which the person will produce. It means it shows that you are the owner. So it is a document of title to goods, means the person who is holding this receipt will presume to be the owner of the goods. Similarly, the captain of the ship, he clears the goods, he sees whether they have been placed in dock nicely. होता क्या है, सबसे पहले whenever the goods are being coming, whenever you take the goods to your godown, it will not happen that the ship has come and you overload the goods immediately. You first keep the goods in the godown or a warehouse. When you place the goods in warehouse, the warehouse keeper will give you a certificate. Then the goods go to the wharfingers, then they go to the different docks kept in the ship. And when so all these kind of identification, clarification, verification has been done, then the captain of the ship will come and he will check all the goods are finally nicely placed, and then he will issue a bill of lading. So this bill of lading, the original copy will be again with the buyer, and when the ship reaches the next port, the buyer will come over there, he will show the original copy of bill of lading and the goods will be handed over to him. तो मैम हमने क्या याद रखना है, हमने सिंपल याद रखना है कि all these documents are the documents which are used in the ordinary course of business. All these are the documents which are used in the ordinary course of business as a proof. किस चीज का proof है ये? They are giving us the proof of the possession or control of the goods for authorizing either by endorsement or by delivery of goods. Now, what is the meaning of endorsement, delivery? अभी के लिए भूल जाते हैं. So what we have to simply remember over here is that these are the documents which are used in the ordinary course of business and give a proof for holding the goods. So I told you, Mr. B goes and shows that railway receipt. So it is the proof that the goods belong to Mr. B. Clear? I hope you have written that example down. A sell the goods from Punjab to B in Delhi. So the goods are going by railway authorities. A has already sent the original railway receipt to Mr. B. Mr. B needs to produce that original railway receipt. Railway authorities will give the goods to him. Why? Because railway receipt is a document of title to goods, which is the proof that this person is the owner of these goods and these goods should be given to him. So this was the case of by delivery. How will the railway authorities give the goods? He will pick up the goods and he will give to Mr. B. So that means this document of title to goods has been used for delivery of goods. Now, what is the meaning of endorsement? Now, this Mr. B in Delhi had a customer, Mr. C, whom he had to sell these goods for them. So one day, Mr. C came to his shop and he said, have your goods come? So Mr. B said, my goods have not yet come, but here is the railway receipt that I'm having. Maybe tomorrow the goods will be reaching the railway authorities and I will go and collect them. Mr. C was very, stubborn customer. He said, why don't you give me the original receipt? I will go and collect the goods and you take the payment from me here only. So they were the goods worth rupees 10,000, which B has already paid to A, and he was waiting to collect the goods on the basis of this document of title to goods. Now, what is Mr. B doing? He is endorsing it further to Mr. C. Endorsement is a very big word. When you do your Negotiable Instruments Act in CA Inter, we will talk at stretch over there. Right now, simply understand that Mr. B has handed over the receipt to Mr. C. He has endorsed it further. So as of now, endorsement means giving it further, giving it to someone else. So this document of title to goods can also be endorsed to somebody else. Now, what will happen on the due date? When the railway authorities take the goods, come with the goods, Mr. C will go and produce this document of title to goods. Railway authorities will check that B has also signed, A has already issued the original one. Now, this Mr. C is holding it. They are least bothered whether B has come to take the goods or C has come to take the good or somebody's driver has come to take the goods. Whosoever is holding this document will be considered as the owner and they will give the goods to him. So this document has to be kept very safely. Gumna nahi chahiye, nahi chori hona chahiye. Otherwise, thief can also go and collect the goods. What happens with that thief? Illegal transaction, crime committed, that is a separate story. But here we are just understanding that this title of the goods, this document of title to the goods gives you the right of ownership. Clear ho gaya? So all these documents, bill of lading, doc warrant, similarly, all these documents are also giving you the title of ownership to the goods. So that whosoever is having these documents can get the goods collected from the other person. Now, kahani mein twist kahan hai? Document showing the title. It says the list is very illustrative, not exhaustive. बहुत लंबी list बन सकती है. Lorry receipt, truck receipt, bus receipt, railway receipt, any kind of receipts. Simply you have to understand is that these documents fall into the same category and they are only giving us the rights of ownership. But it says bill of lading is a document of title, but a maid's receipt is only an acknowledgement. Again, confusing. A document amounting to document of title only where there is an unconditional undertaking to deliver the goods. He says he will not try to check you out. If you're showing me the bill of lading, I have come with the ship, I'm the captain of the ship. The person on the other port showed me the bill of lading, I will give him the goods. It is unconditional. I will not cross-check whether you are the right person or not. No condition is attached. One who is holding has to be given the goods. But एक और term use होती है, maid's receipt. While transporting the goods by ship, when the goods were taken from the dock warrants till the ship, from the wharfing certificate to the dock warrant, then a maid's receipt is also issued in between. It says that maid's receipt is only giving you the rights of acknowledgement. Means yes, the goods have been loaded in the ship. It is not giving you the rights of ownership. So tomorrow, if you say that I'm having a copy of maid's receipt, give me the goods, that is not possible. Because that is the only acknowledgement that yes, goods have been received. But ownership can be shown only by the bill of lading. Now, what is the difference between documents showing the title and document of title? It says there is a term known as share certificate is a document which is showing the title and not a document of title. So, कहते हैं दोनों में difference है क्या? कहते हैं one is a document which shows the title. Say for example, I have taken shares in Reliance, so I will get share certificate. So, उन share certificate पे लिखा होगा Harleen Kaur owning so and so shares in Reliance. Now, can you, on my behalf, go and collect those amount on the share certificate? You can show it to anyone. Law says no, it is only the document which shows the title. It will not give you the ownership right. Even if you have my document in your hand, still I remains the owner. But the railway receipt, the airway bill, the bill of lading that I gave you, that is the document. If you show, you can get the goods collected because it has the ownership rights. So document showing title is different from document of title. This document is only showing the shares represented by it. That means the person, whosoever is owning it, has the shares, number of shares is being held by it. It will not transfer the share. Doesn't mean that you have stolen my share certificate and you go and you say that I have this document showing title, please give me the amount. It says it will not get transferred to your name. Only I have to transfer it by my signatures and other things. Neither endorsement can happen. I can't even endorse. Okay. So it will not allow the transfer of document. However, document of title to goods can still be further transferred. हमने अभी example समझा. B sold the goods to C even while they were the goods in transit. So even while the goods were in transit, Mr. B sold the goods to C. Why? Because the document of title can be endorsed further. Now Mr. C will go and show the railway receipt and he will collect the goods. Clear ho gaya? So simple thing you have to remember over here is, children, document showing the title only shows the ownership rights. It cannot be transferred further. The document of title to goods, it gives you the right of ownership and it can be further transferred also by endorsement or by delivery. Who is a mercantile agent? So I have appointed someone in Pune to sell the goods on my behalf. Say, for example, I'm a trader who is sitting in Delhi and I feel to expand my business. So now it's very difficult for me to go and set up a new office in Pune. So I found that I have good market for my goods in Pune and I appointed Mr. X over there as my agent. Now anyone who is selling goods on my behalf in the ordinary course of business is known as a mercantile agent. So who is a mercantile agent? Somebody who is appointed by a business person or a dealer, someone who has been appointed to sell the goods or consign the goods on their behalf. Okay, so what are the roles of a mercantile agent over here? He can even sell the goods. Number one, he can sell the goods. He can consign the goods. He can buy the goods and even he can raise the money on security of such goods. Now, this is very, very interesting word that he have used. Law says this agent of mine can also pledge my goods further. He can also pledge the goods further. So mercantile agent, number one, who is a mercantile agent? Somebody who is appointed in the ordinary course of business to sell my goods. So I wanted to do business in Pune. I appointed Mr. X in Pune. I will be sending him my goods and he will be selling it in the market over there. So who is Mr. X? Mr. X is my agent and I will pay him commission. So agent is generally appointed and commission is paid to him for doing the business on my behalf. Now he can also sell my goods. Now Mr. X consigned the goods further to Mr. Y. Consignment आपने पढ़ा होगा council. तो क्या Mr. X consign कर सकता है? Yes, he can also consign because law has given him the rights. Now, what is the meaning of pledging the goods? Now, one day what happened, this Mr. X was in need of money for the business purpose. And he had few of my goods lying in his godown. And he went to bank and he said that, bank, please give me 10,000 rupees. In return, I'm giving you the goods as a security. Now, you'll be surprised, ma'am. Now, right now you told us that only the owner has full rights. Agent is not even the owner. Even if he's not the owner, he is considered to be the owner for the purpose of pledge transaction. Why? Because these rights have been given to him under Section 2, subsection 9 of Sale of Goods Act. That means an agent still has the right to pledge the goods of the owner and claim the money. But this has to be done only for the purpose of business. Now listen, very interesting thing. This Mr. X has a wedding at home and he needs good amount of money to buy good stuff for himself. And he got very tempted. He said Section 2 subsection 9 says that even I can pledge the goods of my owner and I can take a loan. Pledge का मतलब होता है हिंदी में गिरवी रखवाना. ठीक है, आपने किसी के पास अपनी चीज अमानत की तरह रखवाई और पैसा ले लिया. So that is what is the meaning of pledge. So he went to the bank and he said that please take the goods as Section 2 subsection 9 has given me the right. I can pledge the goods and give me 20,000 rupees. I want to buy some good dresses for the marriage at home. Can Mr. X do this? Yes or no? with reasons. चलो तुम्हारा टेस्ट है अब ये, जल्दी बताओ. Can Mr. X do this? Yes, Ms. Bansuri Agarwal, if you're doing cakes business, that is also a movable property. Definitely it will be part of goods. Yes, Keshav Kothari, if you can transport the goods, stones from one place to another, like marble blocks, that is definitely the goods. I'm saying about the building stone query, जहां से extract करते हैं, वो जगह को immovable property कहा जाता है. Miss Manvi, not necessary to learn the sections. Yes, Miss Priyanka, you can understand it with the example of keys. Miss Vegdevi H. Simha, till the goods are in the ship, they are sailing, the seller will only remain the owner. Miss Isha, actual delivery means I handed over the car to you. You came to my showroom, you said you want to buy i10, i20, and this particular one I want to buy. So that was lying in my showroom. I gave you the keys, I gave you the car. That means actual delivery has happened. No, Ambika, warehouse keeper is not the seller. He's only holding the goods on your behalf. Wharfinger certificate, Shrindi Revankar, when the goods are loaded in the ship, before loading in the docks, it is given to wharfingers, and when the goods are given to that person, wharfinger certificate, wharfs bane hote hain, drawers kind of things bane hote hain, ship mein load karne se pehle. So while uploading and loading of these goods in the ship, all these kind of certificates are issued, which are considered as document of title to goods. Yes, Ekta, endorsement means you are giving the document of title to goods, can be endorsed further, means can be transferred to another person. Mr. Jayesh is finding document of title to good interesting. I'm glad. Good. Tejaswini B. Yes, we can get your messages. So let me find the answers. Nivedam, that's correct. I'm happy you're understanding now. That's good. Thank you so much. All those who have answered yes, he can borrow loans, it's absolutely incorrect. The correct answer is no. And wonderful Ritika is giving the answer no, because he cannot do it for his personal purposes. Mr. MD is also correct, because it is to only be used for his business. No, you cannot borrow money, right? Miss Sohani is correct. Arshdeep, Yashwant L is correct. Shruti is correct. Kalyani is correct. So the correct answer is no, ma'am. He cannot borrow the money, because the money cannot be borrowed for the personal purposes. मैंने कहा उसके घर में wedding थी and he is pledging the goods. That cannot be done. Please read this line. He can only pledge for the purpose of business and not for any other purpose. Okay, I think we have tried covering many topics today. So let me just see from the presentation also. So children, this is how a bill of lading and a railway receipt looks like. See, it's written cash receipt and how it has been received from whom, all the names, details, quantity is shown, so that the person who is giving the goods does not have to cross-check the things. He simply has to say the name of the person is written correctly and he gives the goods to him. And these are the difference between share certificate and doc receipt. Share certificate, if you see it carefully, the name of the person is only written. It cannot be further transferred. It only show the titles. Similarly, FDRs, I told you, na, fixed deposit receipts. If I have my FDRs and they get stolen, so that person cannot just go and claim the money on my behalf, because it cannot be transferred. It is only a document showing the title. But where a doc receipt has been received by someone else, that person can still go and get the goods collected. This we have already discussed. So property is something which we'll be starting in the next class, because it needs a huge discussion. So I don't want to bother you all over here. So any more queries you can discuss with me. I'm here for another 2-3 minutes. Miss Rafika is again coming up, how to memorize all the concepts very easily. So again, children, my answer to that goes the same. Your timetable, proper management of time, proper availability of yours with your books is very important. The moment you keep reading the same thing again and again, it definitely helps to memorize you. And also, children, I'll be taking up few MCQs. So again, it is a method of revision. Try to answer them honestly without cheating, without looking here and there. That helps to memorize the things. So Tejashri, document of title to goods, simply remember that is the document which shows the ownership, which gives you the rights of ownership. You can transfer that ownership to another person, but document showing the title is only showing the ownership rights. It cannot be further transferred. Document of title can be used for transporting the goods. But here, when we are talking about the document showing the title, it is only saying that this is the name of the person. It does. You do not become the owner if you are holding the document showing title. How pledge can be done? Is pledge and mortgage part of this, which we will understand when we talk about definition of property. Okay, don't worry about that. Miss Sadhya, that's correct. Your answer is correct. Lakshita, we have discussed document of title to goods at stretch. If you have any specific query, Bacha, you can ask that. All those who have written pledging by Mercantile Agent is not possible because he can only do it for the purpose of business. So that's correct. Miss Gunjan wants to know the difference between future goods and contingent goods. Had you been sitting in front of me, I would have taken your test only to ask who can tell her what does it mean. So, but unfortunately, it's just one-sided and I can just read over here. So again, future goods are those, both the goods are future goods. Contingent bhi future hai, abhi nahi aaye hain. Future goods are anyways yet to be manufactured or produced. So the only difference is contingency means where some uncertain event is involved. For example, that ship example. So whether the ship will reach the port safely or not, I'm still doubtful. So that's why the goods are contingent goods. But future goods, I have promised, my previous dealer has promised to deliver the goods on 10th of September. And on 10th of September, the goods will come in my godown. I will sell it further to Mr. B. So it is just a mere example of future goods where I'm not having the goods right now, but they will be coming to me soon. Okay. And both of them are for the agreement to sell. Thank you, Miss Anushka Verma. Mr. Rome Prince, identification of the goods means you have 100 bags of sugar lying in your godown. I just want 10 bags of sugar. So don't you feel that out of 100 bags, you will have to pick up those 10 bags and give it to me? So that is the meaning of identifying and segregating. Means पूरे lot में सामान पड़ा है, आपने कुछ सामान मेरे लिए उठाया और वो पैक कर दिया. That means now out of unasserting goods, you have packed the asserting goods. Why to pledge, Ritika? When you need money, that's why he was giving it as a security, and pledge is basically used for borrowing money. So I will explain you in detail in the definition of property. Mr. Narayan, so again, I used to follow the same thumb rule of making proper timetable, understanding the case studies and examples. See, children, your study material has been made so beautifully that now you have so many examples. So if you try to read the examples and understand and you have the imagination in your mind that this is what is happening, it becomes interesting. But see, if you're just reading it for the sake of ma'am ne bola hai, padhna hai, fir nahi aayega maza. You have to be engrossed in the books. Interest has to be created. So just try to read it like short stories. A is doing this, B is doing this. That is how your personal interest is created and the subjects become very easy. But doing it as a liability because my dad has asked me to do CA and that's why I'm sitting with my books and doing it, then that kind of charm will never come. So try to take up the charge of your subjects now since you are part of this beautiful journey. Be happy about your subjects and when you study them. Okay. Dock receipt, Ms. Ziba, is again the same. I just explained you when you're loading the goods in the ship, you use all these kind of receipts. Thank you, Mr. Murtaza. I'm glad you understood everything. Ms. Bansuri Agarwal, I told you n number of times, yes, your cakes can also be considered as goods, whether you have taken the advance money or you're taking the money later on, it doesn't matter. Decree of court, अभी तो हमने करा ही नहीं, Ms. Jia Patel. You still have to be on hold for this topic. Thank you, Nitil Soni. Ms. Gunjan, if you'll feel bored of thinking about law only, then it will never become your favorite subject. Try to make it your favorite subject so that you don't feel sleepy when you're studying it. Okay, start enjoying it. Thank you, Kalyani. Thank you, Vagdevi H. Simha. I'm glad you enjoyed understanding the concepts. Document for title to goods is a constructive delivery. Definitely correct, Ms. Sohani. When you are giving a document, that means you have made a constructive delivery. That's absolutely correct. Ms. Deepika, when you make advance payment or you make a cash payment or how it happens, delivery of goods wale chapter mein we will understand how the ownership gets transferred. Lakshita, you get descriptive type of questions. Definitely, Tamanna, the MCQs that we have for you will be a kind of test for you, and also all these kind of things are uploaded on the portal as well. Thank you, Shivangi. Thank you, Gunjan. Try making notes, Ms. Gunjan Devi, that will help you. Okay, Mrs. Dasari, I think we are now not left with any more queries. Mr. Om Prince, I took up this topic of separate and ascertained and unascertained once again with example. I hope you have understood it now. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, MD, Ekta. I'm glad you're finding this interesting now. Good. Pledge, Mr. P. Vishnu. Next class, we'll understand in detail. All right, children. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Tejashri. So see you day after tomorrow for your next class. Just revise whatever we have done in the class today. And in the next class, we'll be winding up with the first chapter of Symbolic Goods. Goodbye. See you.